let's talk a little bit about the Lions as far as Jared Goff. Let's start with Goff because the Niners have a long run with Goff. I mean, he spent his first 5 seasons with the Rams. He got the better of the early matchups against Shanahan's Niners. He won 3 in a row against them in 2017 and 2018. And he looked great in those games, 136.3 passer rating, 9 touchdowns, no picks. But then the Niners got better, and they made Goff struggle. And he lost all 4 of the matchups in 2019 and 2020 with a 70.3 rating, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. Now he's playing the best ball of his career, but he's also without Jonah Jackson at left guard.
Yep.
And to me, man, if there's one area where if I'm the 49ers, I am absolutely going to be unrelenting in my defensive approach, it's A-gap pressure.
Yep.
With Ragnow not healthy, with Glasgow and Jackson. Glasgow's just a guy. Jackson is out, and there's going to be Coyote Awasika in there, who's not necessarily he's not a veteran. He's a young up and coming player, but he has very little experience and he hasn't been that good. I think you got to have a lot of A-gap pressure, whether it's Greenlaw, Warner, Hargrave, Armstead. To me, the one thing about Jared Goff is he's a 6'5" guy who's got a good arm, pretty good accuracy, but he doesn't have lateral agility at all. And if you can force him to move laterally, I think that's going to be a win. I'd be shocked if Goff was able to move laterally and still really carve up the Niners with any kind of precision. I think they got to get A-gap pressure. I think that's their advantage. And I think there's no doubt. I think you've got to somehow pressure Goff in his face. And if they do, I think they're going to win.
I agree. And Frank Ragnow is dealing with a sprained knee, a sprained ankle. Jonah Jackson, their left guard, is going to be out. He gave up no pressures when he was in the game, and then his backup came in and gave up multiple pressures, and he was getting steamrolled throughout that game against Tampa Bay. And Jared Goff is not a mobile quarterback. He likes to operate within the confines of the pocket, and he really doesn't have the athletic ability at all to burn you with his legs or to even have the escape ability to get out of the pocket. And I don't really like him when he's throwing on the run. He has a solid arm, but not a bazooka for an arm where he can really throw off platform. And because of that, I think it's really important for San Francisco to run a lot of twists, gains, stunts up front. And this is a huge opportunity for Eric Armstead, who played well against the Packers last week, as well as Javon Hargrave, who you gave a 4-year, $84 million contract to have a big performance in a game like this to get to Las Vegas for the right to bring the Lombardi Trophy on that quest for 6. And when you look at Goff's numbers this year, true completion percentage is 74%. It's 5th in the NFL. Throws a good deep ball, 48%. That's number 6 on his deep ball completion percentage. Operating out of a clean pocket, though, Larry, 70.5%, 6th in the NFL. But when he gets pressured, his pressured completion percentage is at 53.1%, 20th in the NFL. So that's a 17% difference from a clean pocket to a pressured pocket. And then furthermore, according to Pro Football Focus, Goff completed just 51% of his passes for 6 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And he was pressured on 21% of snaps this year, but he scrambled only 7 times. And his passer rating, 62.9 when he was under pressure, according to the metric from PFF. But when he was kept clean in the pocket, that rating was 116.1. That was the second best mark in the NFL behind Brock Purdy. So Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, you're going to have to get after it. But also, if I'm Steve Wilks, I'm finding a way to try to have Nick Bosa and Chase Young either line up at defensive tackle on a couple of snaps or on some of those twist gains and stunts. You have them matching up on a little bit of a delay against a banged up interior offensive line for Detroit. You get pressuring Goff and you blur his sight line and he starts to feel a little bit wobbly around his feet in a muddy pocket. He's prone to making mistakes. And then lastly, before I throw it back to you, the Detroit Lions, more than any team in the NFL, like to target the middle area of the field. And that's because when Goff is able to maneuver and operate inside the pocket, he has that sight line. But if he has pressure in his face, it takes away what Detroit really likes to do with the crossers, with the in routes, with the shallow crosses. And then Jared Goff, if he does get pressured, prone to making mistakes.
So Goff is playing well, and I love these weapons. Laporta was an awesome high school receiver. He was awesome at Iowa. He's been awesome this year, and I agree with Steve Wilkes. I flip on that film. I don't see the knee injury that he had in week 18. It's like it didn't happen.
Right.
So he looks great. Amon-Ra is a major problem. He's got him and Goff are in lockstep. And then they can go up top with the Alabama kid who's just got unbelievable wheels. And then they've got, maybe the best dynamic receiver out of the backfield we've seen come out of the college game in years, and very much like a Christian McCaffrey in Jahmyr Gibbs. And then you got a horse in David Montgomery. I don't know why the Bears ever let him get out. The Niners last week played Logan Ryan 67 defensive snaps. He played all of the snaps at safety over Jair Brown. It was a rough game for Ryan. He had, we saw him just whiff on the Aaron Jones 53-yard run right near the line of scrimmage. He also had a busted quarters coverage play later on, leaving Ambry Thomas on an island with no help. And I understand why they wanted to go with Logan Ryan, but I'm done with it. I want to see Jair Brown, and I told Steve Wilkes as much earlier this week. Wilkes wouldn't confirm anything, but I get the vibe that they're going back to Jair Brown, and they should. What do you see? I mean, how do you see it? Because to me, Jair Brown is their future. And Logan Ryan, if you can't stand up to Aaron Jones, you're not standing up to David Montgomery, even if you're in ideal position. He's just literally going to run over you. So I want to go with Jair Brown over Ryan. Where are you on it?
Totally with you. And I just put out a video this morning actually talking about that depth chart change for San Francisco in that game against Green Bay. And I think that Kyle Shanahan and Steve Wilkes have to make the pivot back to Jair Brown. And what I didn't really understand, I get it when Kyle says Jair Brown missed 4 weeks and 2 games with the knee injury. He's an inexperienced player. And because of that, we went with the veteran Logan Ryan, who has a lot of experience and playoff experience. But here's the thing. Logan Ryan didn't really have a lot of experience this year, and he's not the athletic player that Jair Brown is. Logan Ryan logged 77 coverage snaps this season, and it looked as though he was a player who was old, whose best days are behind him, and looked inexperienced this year. And I'm going with the player who's more athletic, who's more explosive, who has great instincts, and most importantly, Talanoa Hufanga was an all-pro last year. He gets hurt. Jair Brown comes in, and he played well. So not only is he the more athletic, I think more seasoned player if we're talking about right now in the immediacy of the moment, but he's the better player. Jair Brown this year I thought was really, really good. And I think when you don't talk about a rookie safety during a game broadcast, usually it's a good thing, because when you are, he's getting burnt to a crisp. But Jair Brown, overall Pro Football Focus grade of 77.9. He's good against the run because you can play him in the box. 77.5 grade against the run. He had a coverage grade of 74.5, so he can play on the back end. And if you're worried about the inexperience, you have so many experienced players on this defense who can help make up for the lack of experience for Jair Brown. And he's playing alongside Tashaun Gipson. And it's not like that came on a massively small sample size for Brown. Those numbers, 275 coverage snaps, 2 interceptions, and 6 missed tackles. And you can try to tell me, well, Logan Ryan tried to plug the hole. He got faked out and juked out by Aaron Jones, and that could have happened to Jair Brown. But Jair Brown is a physical player. He's not afraid to put his hat on the ball carrier, and he does a great job of having this instinctual feel to his game where he can diagnose and read plays. And he has that short memory for a rookie where if he does mess up, he's going to come back and make that next play, and I have a lot of confidence in him to do that. I just don't know against an athletic team that's highly skilled, that has a great scheme, why you would have an old player out there who doesn't have the athleticism of Jair Brown, because that can cost you more so than the lack of experience, because at least Jair Brown can make up for the lack of athleticism.
Yeah, I mean, and Montgomery's 225. I mean,
Yeah.
he's their leader in carries. He's a downhill runner. He's hard to bring down. He's thick, and he's averaged 2.3 yards after contact per rush this season. That's third best in the NFL. And you're going to put Logan Ryan, a glorified corner, out there at safety, and Gibson is not a great run defender. I mean, Gibson is a good ball hawk center fielder who can come away with an interception and not drop the ball, but that's all he's good at. He's not a great man-to-man cover guy, and he's not really good against the run. So I mean, you got Gibbs, you got Montgomery. I mean, it's and Gibbs averaged 5.2 a carry this year, 2.5 after contact. That was second best in the NFL. So both these guys, and you don't have Cleveland Farrell, who was a very good run defender. He was only a rotational piece, but he was one of the Niners' better run defenders. I think you got to go with Jair Brown.